allergy to meat is spreading. They used to be found mostly in the southeastern U.S., but now they're spreading north. WRDW investigative reporter Meredith Anderson shows us why cases are on the rise and what scientists are now doing to track the spread.
It's called alpha-gal syndrome, and it makes you dangerously allergic to red meat. It is such a concern. Researchers at Emory University recently created this map. It shows where the tick that causes it lives in Georgia. And as you can see, our area is right here in the danger zone.
Hunting, fishing, loving every day. That's the prayer that a country boy prays. Thank God.
Lately, Taylor Hartley has another prayer, one this self-proclaimed Georgia country boy never expected.
If you're not careful, it can kill you.
It is alpha-gal syndrome. It's caused by a tick bite, and it's made Taylor dangerously allergic to red meat. He was diagnosed right before Thanksgiving, but there's no telling when or where he was bitten. That's because Taylor doesn't just play outside. As a farm appraiser, a lot of times his office is outside too.
Whether I got this tick at work or whether I got it going in a deer stand, it is what it is. It's life.
And Taylor's lucky. He caught this pretty early. Like a lot of patients, he doesn't remember the tick bite. Even if he did, the allergy typically doesn't show up until 6 to 8 weeks later. And when the symptoms start, they're not like a normal food allergy, where they're almost instant.
The problem with alpha-gal is it's delayed by so much time, like 4 to 5 hours, that they don't make the association.
Dr. Donnie Dunnigan is Taylor's allergist. Do you have
Hundreds with alpha-gal.
hundreds?
Yes.
Still, the Georgia Department of Public Health only lists alpha-gal syndrome under emerging tick-borne diseases, where cases are rarely reported in Georgia. So if Dr. Dunnigan sees hundreds of patients with it at his Augusta practice, we wanted to know, is this outdated? DPH tells the I-Team, no. That's because it's not a notifiable condition at either the federal or state level. At least not yet. How did alpha-gal get on your radar?
So this is an issue that's been brought to me by constituents.
Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger represents Virginia's 7th District. This year, Virginia became the second state behind Arkansas to require mandatory reporting of alpha-gal cases. Representative Spanberger has introduced a similar bill called the Recognize AGS Act in the U.S. House.
And this is how Lyme disease is tracked and reported. It is a nationally notifiable disease, which means if someone is diagnosed with Lyme disease, through our public health measures, state by state, there's notification that there's been a diagnosis, that there is, potentially an area where a tick-borne illness is more prevalent.
As with any disease, awareness is key. Just last year, the CDC surveyed 1,500 doctors. 42% said they had never heard of alpha-gal syndrome. Of those who had, 35% said they were not confident in their ability to detect or treat the illness. And then there's this. Right now, experts almost fully put the blame on the Lone Star tick, the most common tick in both Georgia and South Carolina. They're found in Texas too, but the name comes from this single white dot on the female's back. Males don't have a star, but both carry the disease. Dr. Dunnigan fully believes that with more research, we'll find more carriers.
We now know that chiggers, which are very common around here, probably carry the alpha-gal protein or the alpha-gal allergy, and then there's probably other ticks that cause it too, because there's countries that don't have the Lone Star tick and they have alpha-gal.
Dr. Dunnigan also believes it's important to look at symptoms. They aren't exactly unique to alpha-gal syndrome. Things like nausea, heartburn, cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, and a drop in blood pressure, dizziness, all those could be linked to, well, just about anything. And not all patients have all of these. Some only break out in hives or an itchy rash 2 to 6 hours after eating meat. Others only have stomach issues, which Dr. Dunnigan believes has led to countless patients getting an incorrect diagnosis, like irritable bowel syndrome, for example.
And if you think about it, a lot of the symptoms are the same, especially if they're not having itching in the eyes. So it's probably more prevalent than what we're aware of.
Dr. Dunnigan says it's not as simple as just avoiding steak or hamburgers. The allergy isn't to beef in particular, it's to all mammals. So Taylor, an avid hunter, can't eat deer meat, or pork, or bison, or lamb. He also has to avoid dairy, some medication, marshmallows, and gelatin. He really misses gummy bears. But for the most part, Taylor can control all of that. It's accidental cross-contamination that has him worried.
What if you go out and you order a chicken breast and that night you end up in the emergency room? Well, it was cooked with some kind of red meat and you didn't know it.
But Taylor says he is still living his life outdoors. He's still hunting and fishing and working, but he's being more careful, and he's making sure everyone he knows is more careful too.
And I tell my friends and the guys I work with, they walk in the woods like I do. I say, look, I'm telling y'all, you need to spray yourself for ticks.
But he's also doing this interview to help you, to make sure you know to be careful. It's in his nature. As a volunteer firefighter for 2 fire departments, Taylor dedicates his life to saving others. And since early detection is key, he hopes by speaking out, he can help those struggling with alpha-gal who might not know they have it yet. He also wants to make sure no one lives in fear.
Life's short, you don't ever know it when it can come to an end. So, I'm gonna go out and eat, and I'm gonna eat, and I'm gonna enjoy myself and spend time with family and friends, and I'm gonna go in the outdoors.
But Taylor does carry an EpiPen with him everywhere he goes, as Dr. Dunnigan says all his patients do. There is no treatment or cure for alpha-gal, just avoidance. And if patients stay away from meat, dairy, and all those other things, and yeah, ticks too, they eventually can convert to negative, but it takes years.
Excellent information from Meredith Anderson.